So, hi, my name is Chris. I'm super excited to talk to you today. It's more about mindset. It's going to be about rebuilding and reclaiming your identity after setbacks and how to start living life on your own terms. It's about turning the volume on your life up to 11 and living the life of your dreams. So I ask you, all of you here, what do you want to do with your life? So this is like what we're going to be talking about today. It's I don't think it's really necessarily a roadmap. I think this whole thing is kind of like a pep talk. We're going to talk about how the default life path we're all fed is a scam. We're going to talk about how to reclaim your identity and create purpose. And then towards the end, we're going to talk about some actionable steps that we can all take to start turning the volume up on your life and living the life of your dreams. And the first thing is, well, who is this Chris guy? Well, I spend most of my time now splitting my time between running some businesses, making noise with my guitar. I try to help others with their money, but I refuse to live life on mute. I turn it up pretty loud. So yeah, I retired at 50. I blog, I podcast, started investing in real estate in 2017. I play a sick, repulsive electric twanger in a couple different projects there. I started a nonprofit that helps families of premature babies. I'm a divorced single dad of 2 adult kids. I also have a bonus adult kid. Happy to talk about that at some point. But I do believe that life is too short for boring. You have to turn the volume up on your life and live life loud and live life extreme.
1 to 10, 1 being not so extreme and 10 being extremely extreme, I give this a 9.5. Check it out, extreme cheddar.
All right, so let's look at this default path that we're all kind of fed. I mean, I was on the path, but we're all here at CampFI. We know that this default path is kind of bullshit, right? This is the path we're handed to us. My grandparents were on the path. My dad was on the path, and I was on this path, right? You go to college, you get a job, you get married, you get a house, you work, and then you die, right? And we know here at CampFI that may not be the right path for us. I thought it was. I was doing that path. I thought I was doing all the right things, right? But it wasn't really right for me. I had 2 distinct periods in my life where I had to turn my life around. 2 distinct turning points that I needed to reclaim my identity, who I was, and what I wanted to do, and create purpose and passion in my life, and start building the life that I wanted to live. The first of which was when everything I knew, everything I had known, was kind of like all crashing down around me. I got divorced. After 20 years, I got divorced. And I was emotionally, I was financially devastated. It was such a dark time. I haven't really told a lot of people this, but there was a time when I remember thinking to myself how fast I needed to drive to hit the bridge pillar to make sure I wasn't just injured. Running that calculation, I mean, it was a really, really bad time. There's another time when, I was leaving corporate America because I was kind of burnt out, right? During that time, I was talking to someone else earlier that I had climbed that corporate ladder, right? 25 years, and I thought I landed like, what was that dream job? I really wanted to do this. Only to find out once you're there, it wasn't really what you dreamt it would be. It wasn't what you thought it would be. It also wasn't what I was promised. I know people would often ask, why would you ever want to leave a well-paying job at one of the most successful companies? But it looked like this. It was like constant meetings, sometimes I'd get up, I'd have 10 or 12 meetings that day across all time zones, sometimes in the middle of the night talking overseas. I was burned out. I was hired to inspire people to educate people, to enable people to be successful at their job. And it was my sweet spot. I loved it. But I wasn't doing that in my job. And I was frustrated and I was burned out. Right? It's not what I was doing. So I was kind of stuck in this like identity crisis. What was I going to do? Right? I could choose to just fade out, or I could choose to turn around and start crushing it. I was stuck in this identity crisis because I was lost. These 2 times in my life, I was lost. Who was I? I didn't know who I was. You know, getting divorced, I was stripped of titles that I thought had defined me. I was no longer the husband. In my situation, I was the breadwinner, so I was no longer the provider, right? Getting divorced also slapped me with new labels. I was a failure. I failed at my marriage. I really felt that. I remember talking to people as I was going through divorce, or maybe I had just gotten divorced, and I would tell people, yeah, I'm getting divorced. And they're like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. What did you do? All the time. I felt as though I was a failure. And then, I was deciding to leave my 9-to-5 job because I was burned out, didn't know who I was, what I was going to do. And for so long, my identity was wrapped up in what I did. My title for my job was who I was. If I wasn't a systems engineer, who was I? If I wasn't employee 164308 at one of the 4th largest companies on the Fortune 500, who would I be? Well, I'd just be me. That was scary. I was terrified. And I started thinking, with a blank slate comes pure opportunity. And that's when I really, truly started rebuilding a life I wanted to live. Because here's the thing. If you really don't know who you are, you can choose who you become. And that's what I did. Because you know what? I am so much more than just what I did, and you are too. Because you know what? I was a father of wonderful kids. I was the brother to my artist sister. I love music and technology and personal finance. We are so much more than what we do. And I got a couple tips or like asks of all of you. So often when we're at events, networking events, it may even happen here at CampFI. You meet someone for the very first time. One of the first questions that we all ask is, what do you do? Well, I challenge now, when you respond to that question, respond with something else than just what your job is or your title is. If you're into fitness, you could say, oh, I run Ironman marathons. I'm training 3 days a week right now. It leads to a totally different conversation. Oh, I love animals, and I foster senior dogs. This French bulldog is adorable. There's so many things you could say. I'm a mother of 2 wonderful kids, ages 8 and 10. They're in dance, in baseball, and I'm really involved in that. I love it. We are so much more than what we do. And then if you want to know something more about someone, when you ask them, don't ask what they do. Ask something else. Ask them how they spend their time. You're going to get such different answers. You're going to get, I bike, I hike, I go thrifting. Like, you're going to find so many other answers when you ask, how do you spend your time? Because most people don't think about their job. So I do ask you to do that. So the next thing I needed to do to really start becoming who I wanted to be, at least for me, I needed to listen to music that really did inspire me. Oh, son of a... And people think metal is just so evil and mean. This was so inspiring to me. I remember sitting in my car crying, listening to that song. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. So to really become who we need to be, the first thing I needed to do was get help. I was in a really dark place. I needed to work on myself, work with a therapist, work with my doctor, build a care plan, and I'm still working on that today. So that's something that I needed to do. Another thing that I started to do is journaling. I started writing things down. And you know what man, I'm telling you, it changes, it rewires your brain. I started writing down every morning. I started writing down 3 things that I'm grateful for. So simple. But man, you do that every day, consistently, it changes the way you think. And I started with just simple things. I'm thankful for the hot shower in the morning. I'm thankful for my coffee, whatever. But you know what? In the dead of winter, when it's 20 below and there's bumper to bumper traffic going downtown Minneapolis, I'm thankful I'm not stuck in that traffic, right? Once we really practice, I think people underestimate the power of gratitude. So I started practicing gratitude. Another thing I started doing is meditating. And I know people, like I have a friend, he's like, dude, that's like woo-woo. Like, what are you doing? But you know what? This is powerful. For me, it really was. This is the Happier meditation app. It used to be called 10% Happier, if you guys are familiar with it. And it can start with just a little bit. Like you can start with just like 5 minutes a day, whatever you start with. But this is why it was important to me, because when times were dark, when times were tough, this gave me time to escape when your mind is spiraling down. It gives you time to focus on just your breathing. This helped me. And I would go as far as saying maybe this almost saved me. That's what I think I started doing. One of the most important things that I did, that I found that helped me find myself, lifted me up when times were tough, both when I got divorced, when I left work and didn't know who I was, it was community. I cannot tell you how important community was for me to lift me up and to start living the life that I wanted to live. The next thing I did is I read this book, The One Thing. And so I started writing down, I started making lists. I started writing down all of the things that I loved to do as a kid. All the things I loved to do as a teenager, as a young adult. So think about all those things, write those things down that you love to do just for the joy of doing it. Just for fun. And then I started narrowing it down. What is that one thing, that one important thing that you're going to do that can lead you to the life you want to live? And I started narrowing it down to like, what's the one thing I can do today? What's the one thing I can do this week to start moving me to the life that I wanted to live? Another thing that I did is I learned, again, writing all those things down. Another thing that I learned was I needed to be creative. I needed a way to get the creativity out of me. And so what I did was crazy. I bought another guitar. So I found it in a Jackson Randy Rhoads Flying V here. But I started playing guitar for the first time in 20 years. I hadn't played guitar like almost my entire professional career, right? I hung my guitar up on the wall, it collected dust. So I started playing guitar and I started to feel alive again. I needed those creative outlets. And that's when I started to blog and create a newsletter. I started a podcast talking about things that really lit me up. I started a nonprofit, right, to help people that needed my help. I started to build apps just for the fun of building apps. I didn't know how to do this. I learned. I was being creative. I loved to do this just for the fun of doing it. And it started to change my life. Was this part of some plan? Did I plan all this? No, absolutely not. It was not some part. What I did was I just started to do those things that lit me up. Because the point is, you find out who you are by listening to those things that make you feel alive and doing more of those things. And Jordan Grummett really helped me with that in the Purpose Code. You don't wander around trying to find a purpose. You go out and you create it. So how do you guys all do this? Well, the first thing we need to do, stop apologizing for wanting more. People are going to act so confused when you just stop settling. for a mediocre life, living the default path. When you want to do something different, friends and family, they're going to look at you so weird. They're going to be so confused. But you know what? That's their problem, not yours. You deserve to live the life of abundance. So let's effing go, right? But you do need, like, in order to build that life, you don't need permission from anybody, but you do need courage, right? You got to take that step. And the cool thing is that we're all here at CampFI, and this is what I truly believe. Reaching FI, well, that can be the fuel for your dreams. That allowed me, at least for me, this is what it looked like, right? I was able to leave work. I was able to, step away from my job. I got to move towards more creative outlets. I got to give back to my nonprofit. I helped educate others with their finances. I invest and develop real estate. I love to build apps, that type of thing. But for you, it could be, I know a lot of people love to travel. It could be travel. It could be writing, right? It could be spending more time with your kids. I don't know. It could be, Aubrey, you want to raise goats on a mountain somewhere? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, see? It could be whatever you want it to be, right? It doesn't matter what it is. But what matters is it's yours, and you're not living anyone else's life. So you're not going to turn the volume on your life up to 11 overnight. It takes time. It takes small intentional actions. There's kind of a common theme today. We talk about habits and actions and James Clear. It's kind of funny. But we start with those small intentional actions. For me, it started with, you know what? I'm going to start meditating. And I started with 5 minutes a day. Then it's 10 minutes. Then it's 20 minutes. You start that practice. All it takes is those small intentional actions to start to move the needle. I started walking more. I started moving every single day, right? You're going for a walk. One thing I really did was stop consuming so much media, doom scrolling, social media, the news. Oh my God, it's all negativity. Once I stopped consuming so much negativity in the world, your brain starts to feel better, man. It really does. It's crazy. And I really started to create more. And it's like James Clear says, right? Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. And if there's one thing we understand, it's the power of compounding, right? For example, let's say you go to the gym today, you're not going to notice. You go to the gym tomorrow, you're still not going to notice. But you go to the gym every day for 3 months, you're going to start to notice the compound interest of self-improvement. Let's say you do want to read more. Start with 10 pages a day. What, takes you 15 minutes? Well, that's 15 books a year. It's crazy, right? You want to start moving more? Do like I did. I started walking just 15 minutes a day. Well, that's 91 hours of movement in a year, right? And after a couple of months, I was up to 30 minutes. I'm walking an hour. You can do it. You can absolutely do it, right? And I also challenge you to do this. This is something that so many people are afraid to make one bold move in a week. But this can dramatically change your life. This can turn the knob up to 11, and that's make one bold move every week. What I mean by that is make that connection. Make that phone call. Pitch that crazy, wild-ass idea you have. Book that trip. Find that mentor. Just make one bold move every week, and it's going to change your life. Now, there are going to be things that try to sabotage you. There's going to be things that are going to try to hold you back, and usually it's those I almost swore, sorry. It's those silent voices in your head. But let me tell you something. You are not too old. You're not too broken. You're not too anything. Okay? I do this too, but we all need to stop waiting to be ready to make these changes. You were born ready. We were all born ready. But you know what? We just forgot because we were living someone else's version of success. And it's hard. I know. We compare ourselves to others, right? We compare ourselves with others. We buy fancy cars. We compare ourselves to others. But like John Acuff says in his book, Do not compare your beginning to someone else's middle. They're further down the path than you. And I think the biggest thing is just, who the F cares what other people think? Once you stop caring what other people think, you'd be amazed on what you can accomplish. You literally, it's so freeing. Just do it. Do what you want to do. Who cares what people think? So if there's one thing that you guys kind of take from this talk, is that you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't got to wait to be ready. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. You don't have to apologize for wanting to live a life of abundance. Again, others won't understand, but you can do this. So in order to turn the volume up on your own life, we need to say no to those things that don't serve us. We need to say yes to those things that set our soul on fire. Thank you.